Good idea.
I think I forgot to record something last week. Anyway, we are recording now. So, hello everyone. It is September 22nd. This is the CHAOSS Community Weekly Call. So we are really happy you're here. And if you have not done so, please put your name in the agenda that Matt has so kindly linked to in the chat. And if we need to do it again, we absolutely can. Let us know how you're doing, what's going on. We want to know. So, all right. We had a couple items from last week that we did not get to because we ran out of time. So we put those first and foremost on the agenda today. But it looks like we kind of have a light agenda. So I see Matt keeps adding things. Matt G. So good job.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're the one in class that's like going to keep everybody. No, I'm just kidding. You're not. Yeah. Okay. So let's do the first one. It is just says attribution. So I'm going to let Matt G talk about this a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, if you follow the issue there, so this had come up kind of at the super tail end of a meeting, and this is a project called LF Analytics, I think is what it is. Daniel, I think that's correct. And you can take a look at the link that's in the issue there. And essentially, it appears that they're using Grimoire Lab, or at least parts of the Grimoire Lab technology behind the scenes. And we had just opened up an issue kind of requesting that they provide attribution or some citation of the work behind the scenes. So there's been some back and forth in this issue. I'll give you a second here to read it real quickly. But I think this is kind of a larger issue of just kind of keeping track of usage of CHAOSS technologies and CHAOSS metrics, because it really does help our project get the visibility when other people are using the tools. Honestly, from my perspective, because we do external funding with this project, it helps a lot in that regard too. So it's another visibility issue. Not to mention just recognition of the good work that everybody's doing on the project as well. So that's what that issue is about.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm trying to start to do, and some of the presentations I'm developing for October, is to put at the bottom of the slides, something like, data generated by Augur, a CHAOSS project. And so I'm trying to myself get a little more diligent about giving credit for the tools that I use. So that might be another way that we could do some of this ourselves too.
I really love that point, Don. Is there a place that's appropriate that we could have a how to attribute the CHAOSS project or Grimoire community? I could see being able to drop a link in repos like that or the such that give examples of what a slide looks like. Might be kind of neat.
I would +1 that. I actually was going to bring that up as a separate item because I just got a talk accepted to talk about contribution analytics at one of our Dev Fest events. So I wanted to at least mention the CHAOSS project and Grimoire Labs as another potential avenue of investigation for those who cannot afford to buy tools or looking for other open source alternatives. So I'd love to be able to reference the project and the groups in a way that's helpful to the organization and CHAOSS group itself. So having a standard way to do that would be great.
Cool. I just put a note in there. I actually think it'd probably be worth it having it on the webpage so that people can quickly find it and not root through the repo.
On the web page, we do have a media page where we provide our logo, contact information, and news coverage. And the purpose of that media page is to, for people that would like to use the logo and reference news about CHAOSS. So it could fit there with a slight tweak.
Cool.
Any other comments about that?
For the whoever put the link to a Google slide template, would that just be like a single? I don't know who put that.
Yeah,
It's like a single slide. Okay.
I've been using that at work sometimes. We were passing around like, what's a standard one slide you can copy and paste the end of your slide. Google Docs makes it so easy. People appreciate it.
Okay.
Do we have anyone that wants to take that as an action item to make that happen?
I'd be happy to do that.
Rock on.
And
I of course can help get that on the website wherever.
Thanks,
you want
Kevin.
To put it, so.
And then how much do we want to like police this as well? You know, like when we see it occurring in the wild. Is it just a gentle nudge saying, "Hey, don't forget
I'd like to
about us."
reframe that policing into encouraging or marketing ourselves.
You know, maybe when the word was coming out.
CHAOSS. In case it'd be cool if you let other people know you're using CHAOSS. Here's how. That kind of language tends to work well.
It's more like a social service. It's more like a social service where we're helping them understand that they're using resources and give credit. So you keep having those resources. You don't want our police.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't directly related to attribution, but I mean, I actually like Sean, the comment that you put in the issue, you know, why didn't they even talk to the CHAOSS community before putting this together, right? I mean, kudos to Matt for finding out, but I wonder if this is worth having a conversation with like Kate. But yeah, this is not very encouraging.
I mean, people use open source without attribution I mean, that's one of the most frustrating and also encouraging parts of open source in my experience. And by the definition, they owe us nothing, for using it. It's licensed in a way that they can go grab it and use it. So I don't know. I don't find it discouraging personally, but I just want to offer alternate thought there that that's going to happen for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean that's fine. I mean, I completely agree with you, Matt. But why are they reinventing the wheel? Is my concern. How is this efficient use of their time? So I mean.
Fair point. There. Yeah, I guess I didn't get into the details of what they're building.
Right.
I've seen this with other things too, like DevStats is sort of a separate CNCF project. It's not part of the CHAOSS project, even though it's all Linux Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, but DevStat is that was mostly a community-based work, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a guy who maintains it. That's as much as I know.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like
a lot of the work, I believe, is I'm pretty sure that the CNCF funds some of that development.
Yeah, I'm sure like a consultants were paid for some of that work, but I mean, this thing is like LF product or IT team spending effort on this. So that's what I don't quite get. But I mean, it's fine, it's not applicable, but if they're reinventing the wheel, that's I guess it's not my dime, but it's a little concerning.
I guess my opinions are just better data sourcing practices. Someone who's quoted data a lot in many presentations, I think it's important to say where it comes from, because that can inherently describe any bias that might be within it or embedded within it, or even just the collection mechanism behind it. So I think it's just a good practice to be able to source where your information is coming from. And if it's coming from a known tool, then that's something people can look into.
And maybe mine's also coming from the academic side of things, where citation is just kind of woven into what we do, and you can get in big trouble if you don't do it. So while Matt, I agree with you that it might be a practice that does occur in open source, it maybe doesn't make it okay. We should encourage, to your point, more awareness from people who are using these, whether it's the text from documentation or the tooling as part of their own tooling.
I don't know there. Like, it depends on how what our content's under. If it's Creative Commons with no attribution required, they have every legal right in academic or other circumstances to use it. I mean, then we're getting into kind of what is moral in the context of that university or something like that. But I don't know, as somebody from the corporate side, I'm like, I don't really owe you anything. If it's licensed in a way, I don't. But anyway, the main point of making sure people know we exist when they're using us, that's a layup, ideally, like something we can get out there.
Okay, so it looks like we landed on Matt G putting together that Google slide template for people to use if they're speaking about CHAOSS, and we will put that on our media page. And if anyone else has any questions, comments, concerns about how that reads or what that looks like, you can send them all to Matt. I'm sure he'll be glad to have those.
I'll just share it here next week and we can work through it.
Right. Yeah. It is a group effort. It's not all on you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to Hacktoberfest, which is, if you're not familiar with that, it is kind of a month-long initiative to encourage people to contribute to open source and to learn about it and to kind of not be afraid to jump in. And then if I recall, if you submit a pull request, then you get a t-shirt. And I think it's run by DigitalOcean. So someone correct me if that's wrong, but I think that's it. We have a link here to Grimoire Lab, what they're doing for Hacktoberfest. And I don't know if any of our Grimoire Lab folks want to talk more about that.
I don't know if there's much to talk about. The idea was to label some issues with the Hacktoberfest label. And then my understanding is that any Hacktoberfest labeled issue qualifies for Hacktoberfest. So I don't think there's any sign-up process from a community perspective, but maybe someone else has more experience with that. I've never participated in Hacktoberfest as a contributor or as a project, so I don't know.
Any contribution on GitHub counts as a contribution during Hacktoberfest, so not just things that are labeled.
Yeah, and if we label things, it gets a lot of visibility. They do a great job of aggregating like what programming language is in and encouraging people at different skill levels to contribute. So I'm not sure if each repo is set up with like the good first PR or beginner type labels. Those could be helpful in this context in the same way that an advanced label could be helpful to avoid people getting in a little too deep on something. And I've messed around with it every year it's happened, and it's been surprisingly effective to get attention to things that are underserved. But just be ready to answer a lot of comments because yeah, the traffic to your repo will go up exponentially. But I've got some really helpful PRs and things that from people around the world on projects just by labeling it appropriately and adding enough context.
Thank you for that information.
Do you know if there's a way to kind of adequately signal? Is it just the label issues, or do you know if there's a style that they're looking for? Or?
The label's always been enough from my experience. They have some great recommendations on how to make something easy, but I think many all of you all are experienced maintainers, you kind of get the idea of how to scope something that's achievable by somebody who's not embedded in these meetings. So not worried there. And then honestly, it's a great PR opportunity, like tweeting that we have labels and stuff from CHAOSS, and for the Grimoire team, it attracts a new audience.
Cool.
Hello everybody. I found, like, I think sometime when I was going through the website, I just maybe a friendly issue. There was like a typo. I saw like two, but I'm finding it very difficult to see the other one. So it's on the about page. Something, it's just a very simple mistake. I think like a space in between. That's just the typo. So what I'm actually saying is we could use it as one friendly issue, part of the issues to put up for Hacktoberfest. So once it just has the label, just a search, I think there's also a way to like do a search on GitHub with labels. And once the search, like Matt said, once the search is done with a label, any repository on GitHub having the Hacktoberfest label, any issue just pops up on the search history. So that typo would be one of a very good issue. It just actually needs like a proper description, because you are going to be like getting different people. So and they are going to be beginners too. So I think the issue should just have like a proper description of what you want the person taking up the issue to implement, like with context, and maybe somewhere in the code where exactly it is in the code base or something. So so it will actually reduce the many questions we are going to be having. So if the issue is properly described, where to have the change, if the change is on this line of the code or it's on this document on the code base, so it's actually reduce like the questions we might end up having. Yeah. So
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that, what you just said, Ruth. And I think that maybe even as you were saying that, even something like just a typo, like getting people involved and engaged, trying to fix something that seems relatively simple, but it could be kind of complicated if it's, buried down in a code somewhere. So I think that that's a great thing to point out, that we need to make sure we have a wide variety of different kinds of contributions that people can make for different skill levels and different skills in general. And I wonder if we could even maybe look at our own website and see if there's anything that we can clean up or fix, or I don't know, Kevin, if that's something that you would be interested in looking through. I'd be happy to look through some of those ideas that we've had for website stuff that, if we think that might be applicable for Hacktoberfest, we can do that.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah,
I'm wondering,
the more eyes we get on it, the better. So
yeah, I mean, I'd like to do a big Hacktoberfest with Augur. So
and we do have both a help wanted tag and a good for newcomers tag. So
Awesome.
With the way the website is built, some of those tasks do require a little bit of direction, but I'm happy to provide that direction in the issues.
Cool. So I guess once we get so we have like the CHAOSS work that we want to do for us internally, and then we have Augur. Sean, you said you're maybe thinking about doing some things with Augur, and then Grimoire Lab. So yeah, once we get those together, we could maybe do like a blog post or like a campaign. I think the marketing folks like to use that word. We can do a social media campaign and spread the word and help others spread the word with us as like a kind of concerted effort. What do y'all think?
I made a Hacktoberfest label and it's orange. Seemed appropriate.
Oh,
smart. Well done, sir. You're officially a marketer.
That's right. And I was wondering, to your comment, Ruth, like maybe do you think it would be smart to maybe label an issue that's something along the lines of help us take a look at the website and clean up grammatical errors and typos. Like it would be kind of one issue that encompasses.
Yeah, that's actually great. So like different merge requests can come in for that issue. For like you can populate the issue with ideas. Okay, I found out like this needs a change, and someone looks at it, okay, yeah, you can go ahead with doing this. So I think that as a general issue, like one issue would go go a really long way. So people can keep bringing in their merge requests after it has been approved, like okay, after the idea rather has been approved, like okay, I found this issue on the website as a comment. You make a comment as a contributor, then the maintainer looks at it, okay, you can go ahead with doing this, and then the contributor makes the PR linked to the issue. So whenever we are ready to close the issue and say, okay, we have had enough contributions on this issue, then we go ahead and close the issue. So I think that's great.
Cool.
Cool. Anything else on Hacktoberfest? Any other questions? Or I did put a link in the meeting minutes for if you want more information about Hacktoberfest, if you've never done it, if you've never heard of it, if you don't know what it is. I believe that that's the kind of homepage for it. So check that out. All right, I guess we can move on then. The next item I put on the agenda just as a help us spread the word kind of thing, because we did launch the D&I badging program last week. Hooray, hooray, hooray. And we did also launch our community health reports. Hooray, 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 hooray. So those are open to the public to participate in. So if you are a social media guru, or even if you're not, hey, you know, I don't care. Feel free to help us spread the word on those. Just tweet those, or Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever it is that you do, Insta. I don't even know what the other ones are. That's how uncool I am. But help us spread the word if you can.
I had a few things on that. One of the things we had talked about last time was possibly reaching out to a couple event organizers with respect to the D&I event badging as a way to just say, hey, we know you have an event coming up. Would you consider going through the badging process? I was wondering, maybe we could take a minute. People could head over to the minutes and jot down an event that they think might be a good candidate for us to reach out to see if they would have an interest. That'd just be really helpful for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to be virtual events.
So like an event that you like, that you know that is getting organized at this time, and they may want to think about D&I with respect to their event. Again, that we could reach out and just say, hey, we know you're organizing an event. That's awesome. We'd love for you to participate in the CHAOSS D&I badging program.
And just to clarify, we would want it to be some sort of open source technology. Is that right, Matt?
The event?
Yes.
Well, I think maybe. I mean, one of the things that I had thought about was like even an academic conference like CSCW. So Gene Hardy is running, is leading the D&I efforts at CSCW as a colleague that I think Gene could be reached out to, even from an academic side, to think about these issues.
That would really be a great idea, Matt. If we can have an exposure with CSCW, then that's really like a championship.
That would be amazing. And Gene's a good person, so I think there would be reception to the idea. I mean, Armstrong, I was even thinking about the Seco Health conference that I think is going to be in Madrid.
Yeah.
Coming soon as another potential candidate.
Yeah, I think for the past 2 years I've been involved. I've given talks also with the Sohil.
Yep.
Yeah, so it will really be a great thing. But I mean, if we can really get into CSCW, then I think we will say we've playing the World Cup in open source.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, every bullet is filled up, so thank you on the minutes.
I think one idea, how about we reach out to these organizations that do call for proposals? You know, they're always in touch with event organizers. So we could reach out to any of them to create a relationship with event organizers, because they're always in touch with event organizers. So reaching out to organizations that I know sometimes I see on Twitter a particular channel that deals with call for proposals. So we could reach out to them to publicize about DNI badging. Yeah.
Cool. I just jotted that down. Thanks.
Does anyone know if there used to be, I don't know if there still is, does anyone know if there's a central place for call for proposals for tech conferences?
That is a heck of a can of worms.
I think there used to be, there's been a few, I feel like over the years, there's been a few initiatives to kind of like be a central location for those things and like all tech events in general, but I don't know if any of them are still around.
I think that would be a difficult question to answer, because like the Linux conference, they try to build things that are around the Linux ecosystem. Then the open source thing is coming up. The OpenStack is a very big thing happening. Kubernetes is on its own doing things, you know. At the end of the day, each one of them have their interest that they want to like market. They collaborate within themselves. But to have an umbrella that really pulls them, I know FOSDEM is doing something great. If we are talking about something like that, then FOSDEM can also be, but I think it's more of European. It's happening in Belgium most often. But that is really like one of the biggest practitioner conferences. Yeah.
Why don't we list out the ones that come to mind in the notes for you, Elizabeth? There's a few that I can point to.
Yeah, I was just curious more than anything. Not sure if that was something.
I follow a couple of them on Twitter, but I'm trying to look for them, so I'll just paste the links on the Google Doc.
Okay, I think we can move on then to, it looks like Matt had another comment about the community health reports, or someone did. I'm not in love with the form. I figured that was you, Matt. So you want to talk about that?
Sorry. Yeah, let me just bring up the form.
Fancy
okay,
muting
so
and unmuting.
Yeah. So this is the current form. Sorry, for the request for community health reports. Obviously, you can take a look at it yourself. So we have this top text, which tries to describe that we only want you to submit for one repository. And if you do want an analysis of a second repository, just submit 2 reports or 2 requests. But for the time being, we were trying to limit the number of repositories that could come in. We specify what's going to be in the report, and then also the tooling that's used to generate the reports. All right, so this is at the top.
I haven't seen a request come in yet.
I haven't either. Well, I think we just got it up on the website maybe today.
Okay.
And so what I don't love about the form, so it would really be great if people who haven't really seen this could give your first reaction to it. So when you make a request for a community health report, first name, last name, email, not too hard. It's these two that are weird to me.
Well, the GitHub and the GitLab URL should be to a repo, and repository organization URLs are like on the Augur form. When people request Augur instances, we let them request whole GitHub orgs or GitLab orgs, and so we pull all the repos in that org and give them an instance that way. That's what that second question is asking, and I don't think that's what we're offering.
I think that second one should go away, the repository org. And the GitHub or GitLab URL should say the GitHub or GitLab repository URL. So add repo.
And maybe put this like this more grayish text in here to help. The one that says provide a repository you'd like to have analyzed in there.
That makes sense.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Sophia, but don't you work on forums?
Me?
Like, isn't that your expertise?
No.
No, I was asking Sophia. I could have sworn maybe it was a stray Twitter comment.
It was on Twitter yesterday. We were talking about making forms. Yeah, I think only having one, especially if we're not asking for organization specifically, that is going to confuse people. So just one link and then specifying what you're actually looking for. So a little bit more than just GitHub and Git, especially if we're just asking for the specific repo. So I think the suggestions that you've made make a lot of sense to consolidate that and reduce confusion.
Okay. Are we limiting ourselves to GitHub or GitLab? What if they are using something else?
No, we could do the reports that we do on Bitbucket as well. I think if you get beyond Bitbucket's the only other platform widely used.
You might want to state that up front, just saying what is available.
Okay, so maybe in this text up here?
Yeah. So when they get down to there, they're not surprised when it's.
Okay.
I created an issue for this on the website, in the website repo, and I also dropped a link into the files that are affected if anyone should want to submit a pull request.
Kevin, we can't change the form, right? We have to go.
We can change the form. So
we can.
Kevin has the power.
Oh, yay.
The form was given to us as HTML, so we've actually already gone in and edited it, and we can go in and edit it. We can continue to edit it. So
well, that makes me happy.
Yeah. So related to your comments, so on the website we actually have 3 forms currently because the D&I badging has 2 forms. It would be nice if the formatting and the language were the same for all of the forms. So perhaps we could reach out to Matt Snell and help get him to help us coordinate kind of a common structure and language around the forms.
Okay.
Kevin, I have a question. So how this is going to affect the data we are receiving through Linux Foundation software, that if a form field is missing or if a new form field is added to that?
We'll just get the data we gather, I would think.
Yeah.
I doubt they're auditing what we're asking for.
Okay.
Matt, did you have a comment too? You went on mute. I was trying to.
Oh, thanks. No, I'm good. I was just going to say, based on Kevin's point, I guess PRs are welcome, which is ideal. Yeah.
I have one last comment that I didn't realize before. So up front, we're collecting email addresses, and it's very explicit. You can't receive the report without that or that notification of communicating with them. But then we don't specify until the last question about potential communication threads. After, I'm just thinking about those opt-in pieces. We want to be upfront about how we're going to use their contact information. So we are saying it. It's just mostly just in placement. People might be more reticent to give their contact info before they know how they're going to use it. So we're going to notify them when their report is ready and they have the ability to opt out of further communications.
I like the idea of moving the name email further down and starting with, I want a health report. Here's my repository, and then collecting the rest of the information.
Okay, so the suggestion is to move these things, the first name, last name, and email, down to here. Okay.
My only suggestion was just have those two things together. So as long as they're combined, I think that's appropriate.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. That's it for me. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes left in the meeting, and we have some other items to talk about. The next one is ecosystem dependencies. This feels like it might be a very large conversation. I'm not sure who put this on here, though.
Well, it was me.
Of course it was.
Maybe we could save that to the end. I think like Matt has a call out for the value working group, and make sure we get to those things.
Okay, we'll hold on that. The next one is Zoom from the LF.
We can wait. Also me. We have it. It's done. We actually have the account now. I can't figure out how to add other people. There are a few like little details that I need to get squared away. So like at the moment, I'm the only host, like owner of this, and that's not okay.
Brian Warner shared some credentials with me in a LastPass folder.
Oh, well, then you have it too.
But I haven't actually been able to figure out how to do it. So.
I also got the LastPass credentials.
Well, this is good. This is why I suppose this is why we bring this up. Oh, what?
I did.
Okay, so.
But I'm like Sean. I've literally not done anything with it at all.
Well, I've actually tried to figure it out, like, because I've never shared credentials in LastPass before, and I don't get it. I feel really stupid. I feel like this should be obvious, but I don't.
It's definitely not you.
I can find the folder, but I can't find actual credentials.
Yeah, so you might have shared it in with permissions where you can't see the password. You can only access it through LastPass, so you have to have the plugin in your browser.
I have
it's really fun.
Yeah, it's just an empty folder.
So in theory, that is what you described, Matt, is what it is. So in theory, could I give those credentials to you, or would they have to originate from the LF?
It depends on your permission level.
Okay.
Do you know if you're using a pro account or if it's a free account?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like me personally?
I have a pro account, and now I can actually find it's a meetings@CHAOSS.Community username, and I actually figured it out sitting here.
Okay.
I recently switched to Bitwarden because LastPass is pretty frustrating with the sharing. If anyone's on a free account, they can't share it with more than one person. So you have to daisy chain sharing credentials with people unless people are paying. Bitwarden being an open source alternative and pretty inexpensive if you want to go to pro. I've been using that personally and with work. But yeah, that's just a nuance to keep in mind. You can usually share it, but if you get a rejection that you can't share it again, it's because you're on a free account.
Okay, so but in theory, I could share it with one other person, those credentials. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I guess I could do the same. I could also, it's like the username and password's right here, so you just send it to you.
Okay.
Good, Warden.
Okay, thank you. That was it.
Okay. Well, that's a lovely segue then into 2 requests for help that we have from people who usually run meetings that can't make it this week. So first is Matt B. can't make value this week, and he wants to know if anyone is willing to facilitate that in his stead.
Well, I always will.
Cool. Yeah, if there's time and energy, please do. I keep to-dos because every 2 weeks is enough for me to forget everything. So it should be nice and organized in there what the next steps are.
Okay.
There's
thanks, man.
Podcast. Yep. I've accepted a podcast. Yeah, I'll be at a podcast myself on that one.
Perfect. No worries.
So,
I'll be at the podcast as well.
Well, maybe I'll be alone.
Let's. Okay. Well, I did invite some of the UNICEF folks to that one specifically. So hopefully, if you're there with them, that could be a very good meeting.
Oh, cool. This week at the value group.
Yeah.
Not so realizing it.
Not recognizing there, but Matt will be there. So.
Yeah. So they're Justin Flory. Do you know Justin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Justin. Yeah. So. Yep. So we've been chatting with folks at UNICEF about trying to make a catalog of projects that pass a bar of, they don't use the phrase social good, is it?
Social value.
Public good is what they call them.
Public good. And so they're reaching out as to what are the ways that they can kind of observe open source projects as carrying this public good. And so we've been talking to them in that regard.
That is ideal. Amazing.
Yeah. And I think it fits really well with kind of that restructure of the value working group. Yep. Okay.
Okay, and it looks like we have a couple of bigger items from the value working group. Matt B, do you think we have time? Because we have about 5 minutes. Do you think we have time to address those? Do you want to save them for next time, or what do you want to do?
Oh, no, you're good. We don't have to go into them. I just wanted to give people context in case they're going to volunteer for something to know what they were volunteering for.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
All good.
Perfect.
Matt is well aware of that. So thank you.
If not, he is now, right? And then it looks like Sean cannot make the risk working group this week, so we're also looking for a facilitator for that.
I do have a bunch of to-dos I will hand off to whoever the facilitator might be, but that I've done. But I can't be there because I have a tenure and promotion committee meeting that I have to be sitting in on.
And I think that one actually had moved a few sessions ago. So it's what, 4 p.m.
It's 4 p.m. on
Central
Thursdays,
Time on
yeah.
Thursday. So it's a little bit late for our European folks, but
it is. And if no one can do it, I can always double Zoom and fake be at this other meeting.
I can facilitate the risk one.
Okay, thank you, Anand.
I'll be there.
Anand.
I can help take notes and stuff.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, I'm going to put you both down here in the minutes here. If I can type. Okay. And then, oh, we're getting closer. Cool. Okay. So someone has dropped in here an interesting talk about sustainability. I'm not sure who dropped that in, but nice. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, so first I saw this like a week ago. So this is coming from the Digital Impact Alliance, so Michael Donny and his group. So this is about open source sustainability for software, for the kind of work they are doing and so on. So just in case this is interesting, and then it came to my mind that is it worth if we share like in a weekly basis kind of these talks that might be worth exploring into any of us here in this call? Just wondering because this might be interesting for me. I cannot attend, unfortunately, but maybe this might be interesting for you. So if you're aware of any other beyond the usual suspects as open source summit, etc., might be worth having this here. Like, oh, I'm aware of this, so just in case you are interested. And that's all I know about the talk. So
and that talk starts in 1 hour.
Yeah, so it's today. So yeah.
Nice t-shirt.
Cool.
Thank you.
I think that's a great idea, actually, Daniel, to share those kinds of resources with this group here, because I think you're right. A lot of people would be interested in something like that. So I would encourage anyone who comes across something interesting they read or hear or want to attend and think others might be interested as well, by all means, share them in this group. We would love that. That's a fantastic idea. I love that. Okay, and now, oh, go ahead.
I also added, just Daniel's talking about intersourcing again with the Asia Pacific Working Group tomorrow morning, and that's 8 a.m. Central. That was a great, I learned a ton last time, and I learned so much that, and everyone learned so much that we asked him if he could do another hour. So if you're curious about intersourcing, you should look at the video from last time and join us tomorrow if you can't. If you can't watch the video, it was really good.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for adding that, Sean. All right, we have 1 minute left. What's left?
In my micro 30 seconds here, it's just the issue of dependencies and ecosystems. And this conversation, don't worry, I'm not gonna so let's talk about this. But this issue has been showing up in a variety of different working groups. And I think it should be important, or might be important, that we start centralizing this conversation. This seems to be very important for a lot of people. And it's been showing up, like I just said, in a variety of different working groups, and it'd be great to have it in one place.
Do you have a limitation in scope around dependencies? Or are you talking about overlapping people, code, projects?
It was a lot about projects, at least the conversations I've been hearing so far, like kind of understanding the ecosystem within which one project exists, and understanding kind of the whole nature of how things connect around that project, or how that project is connected to other projects.
I'm really interested with that trend of thought. That's really my main focus in research.
So I'll leave it at that.
But do you want to do something now to start some formal discussion on this topic? So that
why don't you, maybe Armstrong, you and I can connect out of band,
okay. Yeah,
and talk about how to move that forward. And
okay.
Anybody who has an interest.
And I would love to join.
Yeah, Augur's been working on trying to parse out dependencies and all the different dimensions that we have to come at them from. And it's a complex endeavor with many. There's a long thread on one of the issues in one of the working groups I wrote about that.
Yeah.
So invite.
I've seen this come up at, like you said, Matt, across working groups. So we might want to just mention, if you're thinking about building a new working group just for dependencies, I think we should mention that in every working group meeting, because I have seen it come up in a variety of places.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, now we're 2 minutes over. That's okay. We'll get over it. We'll be all right.
No. Good to see you all.
Good job, Matt. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day. Later.
Bye-bye.
We still love you, Matt. It's all right.